Today is the 26th of January, 2010. We're at the terrace at Beaverwick, 41 Beaverwick Lane, Slingerlands, New York. My name is Wayne Clark. I'm with the New York State Military Museum and Veterans Research Center in Saratoga Springs, New York. Sir, for the record, would you please state your full name and your date and place of birth, please?
Herbert Lee Davis, 9/6/25, Carney, New Jersey.
Did you attend school in Carney?
Yes, high school.
And what year did you graduate?
43.
Do you recall where you were and what your reaction was when you heard about the attack on Pearl Harbor?
I was listening to the radio in my room,
Mm-hmm.
and my next door neighbor was outside working on his car, and I heard it, and I called him out the window and told him, and he started marching up and down the street, you know, like he was carrying a gun, a rifle.
Did he end up going into the service?
Yes,
do you know?
he did.
Okay. Was he older than you?
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't go until 1943 because you were still a student. Do you recall what it was like? Did your life change right after that moment? Life as you knew it?
Not really. What I did was took a test for the aviation cadet program
Mm-hmm.
and passed it, and they called me within a week or two
Mm-hmm.
after I was 18.
All right. So you enlisted in the Army?
Army, Air Force.
Air Force? All right. And how did your folks feel about that? Were they against it or for it?
My mother was dead. I don't think my father reacted one way or another.
Mm-hmm. All right. And where did you go for your basic training?
Basic training, Miami, Florida.
Mm-hmm. Was that your first time away from home? For an extended period of time?
Yeah, other than going to, you know, YMCA camps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. And how was basic training?
Well, we lived in a plush hotel. But it wasn't too bad, wasn't too tough.
All right.
And then because officers in the Air Force previously had to have college educations,
Mm-hmm.
they sent me to Michigan State University for 6 months in lieu of not having a college education.
What did you study there?
I guess it was just a general course,
Mm-hmm.
math, science mostly.
Mm-hmm. Did you have any difficulty with the courses?
Not too.
Mm-hmm. Were you a fairly good high school student?
Yeah, I was good in math and science.
Okay. Once you completed your 6 months at Michigan, where did they send you next?
Next, I went to San Antonio, where they gave me a battery of tests to see what I was best suited for,
Mm-hmm.
and turned out to be bombardier. And then I went to Big Spring, Texas, I believe it was. And
Was that a bombardier school?
yes, yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I went to 2 different places, Big Spring and I forget the name of the other place.
Okay.
One of them was like a on-the-line training,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like a mechanic would be. And then I went to bombardier school.
Okay. Did you find the bombardier school difficult at all?
No, I don't think so. It
Mm-hmm.
may be fairly difficult.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, you went up in airplanes to practice bombing.
Mhm.
Do you recall what type of aircraft you flew in?
Yes, AT-11s. It's a twin-engine, twin-tail
Mm-hmm.
plane.
Now, did you drop like dummy bombs?
Yeah, 10-pound black powder bombs.
Uh-huh. Okay. And besides the bombardier training, did you get any kind of training to be an officer?
Yes,
Mhm.
I ended up being a flight officer.
Mm-hmm.
When you finish training, you either get to be a lieutenant or a flight officer.
Okay.
And I don't know exactly what their criteria was, but I was a flight officer.
Was that? Do you know if that was something like a warrant officer?
You're right.
You were a warrant officer?
Well, they called it a flight
Okay.
officer, but it
Okay.
was similar to a
Yeah.
warrant officer.
All right. And how long was that bombardier school? Approximately.
Yeah, I think about 6 months.
Mm-hmm. And once you completed that training, what happened next?
Well, what they did was keep me at the airbase, and because the training had changed over a period of time, I stayed there and taught the techniques to return combat bombardiers so
Oh.
they could become instructors.
I see. Did you work with the Norden bomb site at all?
Oh yeah, that's mainly,
Mm-hmm.
that was the only thing.
Was that pretty complicated and hard to learn?
Well, I did very well.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we did something that I didn't think was proper, but my partner in the training, his scores weren't good enough to graduate, so my instructor said, we'll put your name on his scores and and his scores on your name.
Oh, brother.
I didn't think that was
No.
very smart. I mean,
No.
if you weren't able to hit the target,
Mm-hmm.
you just put everybody at risk.
Mm-hmm. Now, did he graduate as a flight officer also?
No, I think he graduated as a lieutenant.
Really? Huh.
He was in service previously. He was a sergeant,
Okay.
and
All right. Now, you stayed in Texas
mhm,
as an instructor
right.
for the rest of the war.
Yes, and as soon as the war ended, they discharged us as excess, unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
What was life like for you down in Texas? Did you have a lot of time off?
yeah, I had quite, it was quite funny. My roommate was a returned combat man who force landed in Sweden,
Mm-hmm.
and they're supposed to be kept there for the rest of the war.
Uh-huh.
But they had an agreement. The United States flew unmarked planes in and took them out,
Oh, I see.
and he was my roommate, but he didn't have enough points to get out.
I see.
And I was just declared excess, so
Mhm.
they discharged me right away. And you know, I had a lot of time off because I was an instructor, and
Mm-hmm.
I ran into him at a discharge center. He was working as a clerk there. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm getting discharged." And he blew his top.
During your time off, how were you treated by the civilian populace down there? If you went into town, or what was the closest big city?
I guess the closest big city was San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And treated fine.
Mm-hmm. Basically, well, what I meant was, like, if you didn't have a ride, or you were hitchhiking, would people pick you up if they saw you in uniform, or if you went into a bar, were the drinks on the house?
No, the only place that drinks were on the house was the Elks Club,
Uh-huh.
and they'd only serve officers there,
Mm-hmm.
and otherwise you paid for your drinks.
I see.
Being an 18-year-old kid at the time, you know, I enjoyed it.
Uh-huh. What about entertainment? Did you have any USO shows or troops come by the base you were at?
Yeah, we had entertainment. We had music.
Mm-hmm.
I remember particularly an all-black jazz band that was excellent,
Mm-hmm.
and they were regulars there.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the death of President Roosevelt?
Yeah.
Okay. I know we've interviewed a lot of veterans, and you know, Roosevelt was the only president they had ever known, and there was a lot of apprehension about. They heard Truman was going to be the next president, and a lot of the guys didn't really know anything about him.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a Kansas City politician, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Now, what about when the war in Germany ended? Was there a lot of celebration on base? And on top of that, was there any rumors that you might end up in the Pacific, or?
Yeah. I always joke with people, you know, saying that when I graduated from bombardier school, the Germans heard about it and they dropped out. And then when I was going overseas toward Japan, the Japanese heard about it, they quit.
When you heard about the dropping of the atomic bomb, was that hard to comprehend, that one bomb could be so destructive,
Yes.
take out an entire city?
Yes, it was.
Had you heard any rumors that there was such a weapon being developed?
I think so. I think I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the fellow's name that was instrumental in developing it.
Oh, Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Once Japan surrendered, until you left the service, what was it like on post? Did the training stop, or did the training continue?
As soon as Japan
Surrendered?
got discharged just about immediately.
Immediately, okay. Now, where were you discharged from? Down there, or?
Yeah, I think we went to Tampa to be discharged.
Mm-hmm. And then you went home to New Jersey?
Mhm.
How did you go home? By train or hitchhike, or did you fly?
I think it was by train.
By train? All right. Was there a celebration when you got home?
Mm, I don't recall too much of a
Mhm.
celebration.
Did you make use of the GI Bill?
Yes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And you got your college degree.
Right.
Did you use that 5220 club?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. And did you join any veterans organizations?
No,
Did you stay in contact with anyone you were in the service with?
no,
Mm-hmm. Did you attend any sort of reunions at
No.
all? Okay.
I have a tendency in everything in my life, once it's over with,
Hmm.
it's over with. I don't tend to,
Dwell on the past?
you
or-
know,
Okay. All right. So you graduated from college. You got your bachelor's degree in education. And what was your first job after that?
pharmaceutical detail man.
Mm-hmm. And how long did you do that for? Approximately
9 years.
9 years.
Then I was getting a divorce
Mm-hmm.
from my wife, and one of the conditions of me getting custody of my daughter
Mm-hmm.
was that I have a job where I would be home every night. So I went into teaching, because when my pharmaceutical detail job had me traveling.
Okay. And whereabouts did you teach?
And I started in Walton, New York,
Mm-hmm.
and then in Catskill, New York.
Okay. And what grades did you teach?
Mostly junior high.
Okay. And for how many years did you teach?
16.
16. Okay. And then you ended up, you mentioned working for the Red Cross?
Yes, that was my last job.
Mhm. And what did you do with the Red Cross?
I was a development officer. That's basically a fundraising job.
Okay. All right. And then you retired?
Hmm.
And what year did you retire,
What year?
approximately?
89.
89. Okay. All right. And how do you think your time in the service changed or affected your life?
I think it added discipline to my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was more on top of things, make sure they got done. I didn't procrastinate as
Mhm.
much. One thing I think disciplined me, made me more disciplined.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on? Maybe some particular incidents or that you can recall from back in your service days?
Yeah, well, the one thing that almost cost me my life was we were going on a night practice mission,
Mm-hmm.
and the pilot was kind of a wild guy, and he got into the plane and he noticed that the landing gear indicator was in neutral, and he said, "That plane's standing here on the runway, it must be in down position." So he just put it in down position, and he started to take off. Well, what happened was, as soon as the plane lightened up a little bit, the wheels collapsed, and the plane dropped, and he circled the field, and they put the floodlights on them, and they said, your wheels are down now, but we don't know whether they're locked or not.
Mm-hmm.
So we suggest you go around again. By this time the plane was rattling and everything, and so he said, no, I'm coming down and staying down. So when we got out of the plane, the crew chief came over. Both props were bent like this, and he says, I can't understand how they didn't just fly out of the engine.
Wow. So the props hit the runway when you
Yeah.
landed.
Not
Jeez.
when we landed, when we were taking off.
Oh, okay. Okay, wow. Were there a lot of training accidents?
Oh, yeah, we've had, well, there's one I remember, a guy that was in our barracks. He died with a couple of other guys in the training.
Mm-hmm. So the training itself was pretty dangerous.
Well, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that was those two incidents were the only ones that I remember being one a fatality and one a near fatality.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd care to add?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your interview.
That's okay, thank you.